Hello Internet, I'm Kyla and I'm going to be reviewing books. I've never done anything like this before. I just kind of thought it'd be a fun thing to do, so here I am. Okay, so the book I'm going to be talking about is Unwind by Neal Shusterman. I liked everything about this book. It was very well written, the character development is great, it's emotionally gripping, and it's just very, very well done. So, I mean, and there isn't really anything that I didn't like. I think at one point I just kind of wanted to know more about a few of the characters, like about the Admiral. When he first showed up, I wanted to know more about him. But I can see why it was all left to the end before you know more about who he is and like what he stands for. So it makes sense that it was done that way. And then, but aside from that, like the character development is just phenomenal. Like okay, we'll start with Connor, who starts out as this kid who is essentially a bad kid, gets in trouble at school, average-ish grades, just not the best kid. And when he finds out he's going to be unwound, like any kid would do, he runs away. And he starts out as this very, very self-serving kid, and then the way he grows throughout it to be this leader that, people depend on, it's very well done, and I really like it. And then you have Risa, who is going through what so many kids her age go through. She's only 15. And she's at this point where she doesn't know who she is yet, because what teenager really does. But because she did grow up as a ward of the state and an orphan, and therefore was being unwound because of budget cuts, because of her being in the state home, she didn't really, have the support system she needed to be able to figure out who she wanted to be and what she wanted to do with her life. And then, so when she grows throughout this novel and sort of figures out who she is, it's really well done. I mean, I guess I'm just going to keep saying that. It's really well done. And it's believable. And the same thing goes for Lev, who is being unwound because he's a Tithe. Now, whereas, Connor and Risa were very against being unwound. Now, for Lev, he was given this purpose from the time he was born. Like, he knew that on his 13th birthday, he was going to be sent to a harvest camp to be unwound. And he was proud of that. He wanted that. And then when that gets ripped away from him and he has to start from ground one and figure out what's going on and what he's supposed to do now that he all of a sudden has this life ahead of him, or the potential to have a life ahead of him, he doesn't know what to do. And so he's very, very naive, very vulnerable. And everything that happens to him causes this dramatic shift. And it's very real and very reasonable. Well, it's reasonable that it happened. I could see it happening. It was just really, really, really phenomenal to be able to see this happening and have it done really well. Because a lot of times with drastic changes, like with what happened with Lev, it would just be, oh, I'm a good kid, and all of this happened, all of a sudden I'm going to be some delinquent, and it just happens like that. But it wasn't like that with this. It was gradual, and it happened in a way that wasn't too sudden, and maybe it was a little predictable, but not in a bad way. It wasn't like you got bored reading it before you ever got there. So going from that character development, I guess let's talk about how emotionally gripping this novel was. And I was talking with my friend Lauren about this, whose YouTube I will put in the description. But she and I were talking about this because she's the only person that I know who has read it at the point of me filming. But anyway, when she and I were talking, one of the things she mentioned that she really, really liked about this was how emotionally gripping it was. And that you start to really feel what the characters are feeling. You get in this point where you're worrying about, are they going to get caught? Are the juvie cops going to show up? And well, what's going to happen here? Are they going to make it out of this place and get to their destination alive? I mean, what is going to happen? And you start to worry about it as though you're actually there. And it's one of those things where when you close the book, you have to remind yourself that you're not going through what these kids are going through. And I just really like when books do that. And you really, really feel like their terror and their fear. And it's one of those things that it sort of makes you sick, and it's horrible, but it's good. Because, I mean, I like it when books do that, because then I know that I'm actually getting invested in the novel and actually, enjoying it. Another thing, going back to being emotionally invested, there's this chapter towards the end of it where you actually get to experience one of the characters' unwindings. And throughout the novel, you don't really see this character as, a 16, 17-year-old kid. It's just this character that's there. You see them in their time at the novel right in that moment. And you don't think that, this is a person that had a life before being set to be unwound. And just reading their unwinding, it's horrible. And I didn't even know what to do after I read it. I just kind of had to close the book and, wait. Because it was just one of those things that was so hard to deal with. It was very heavy. And, you're reading it and realize that this is just a kid. This kid is very, very scared. And yeah, they made mistakes, but it's not something that they deserve to have their life taken away from them because of. And it was hard to read. And I know, talking with Lauren, she said that she couldn't even fully read that chapter. She just kind of had to scan it. I mean, I read it full on, and it was hard. And that's one of the things that still sticks with me after having read Unwind and then reading the sequel, Unholy, which I will probably talk about later. It still sticks with me. When I think about Unwind, I think about this and that character, and how much you don't really appreciate them until it comes to their unwinding. And so that was really sad, but that was just the way it was. But yeah, so that's that. Overall, my feelings about this novel is that you should definitely read it. I highly recommend it. It's one of those things, it's not a light read. It's not hard to read, of course. It's not a dense novel, but the subject matter is heavy, so you've kind of, you got to prepare yourself for that a little bit. But it's still a very, very good book, and I highly recommend you go pick it up, you read it. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, or you can find me on Tumblr. I'll put a link for that in the description as well. But just let me know what you thought. I mean, if you liked it, what'd you like? If you didn't like it, please tell me why. I want to know why you didn't like it. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Great book, very well written. The plot was very well thought out. Character development happens, and it's great. The characters themselves are just fabulous. And yeah, it's a very good book. So, Unwind by Neal Shusterman. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Alright, bye.